81 years ago, the 40-hour work week became normal, became standard, and it has remained standard ever since. Before 1940, way back in the 1800s, after factories and the Industrial Revolution came in, people worked much longer in the factories and in their workplaces. 6 days a week, sometimes 10 hours, sometimes much longer than that, sometimes up to 70 to 100 hours a week. Can you imagine? 70 to 100 hours a week. No wonder the lifespan was shorter back then. People were working themselves to exhaustion and in some cases to death. Unions started to form, there were protests, there were strikes, and there was even a strike in Chicago that was so big there was a bomb involved and up to a dozen people or more were killed. It was a tough and very ugly time. The 40-hour work week began to be implemented in and around and just after the Great Depression. There was much fuss and calling for something to change because people just couldn't keep going the way they were. There was massive unemployment, and it was decided that rather than have fewer people working, they would spread out the available work and institute this 8-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week work situation that would allow more people to have a little bit of the work that was available rather than a few people working themselves to exhaustion. It passed in all sorts of places with different laws and governments deciding to implement it as the standard. It was also decided that if you worked more than 44 hours in a week, you would have to be paid overtime. One report that I read said that it was Henry Ford of the Ford Motor Company in the late 1920s who thought this 8-hour work week was brilliant because then he could get 3 shifts of workers and keep his factories running 24 hours a day with the different people rotating through the 8-hour shifts. This of course made everything far more productive. You could keep factories running 24 hours a day. And hence was born shift work and the standard 8-hour days that we have today. This has mostly remained in place and enshrined for more than 8 decades. In the US, the law was passed in 1940. Australia achieved a 40-hour work week by 1948. Canada followed in the 1960s, and most European countries by the 1970s had also adopted this standard, with the exception of Germany. In 1978, the workers in Germany staged a 6-week strike. They were demanding a 35-hour work week. Now, the strike actually failed, but the 37.5-hour work week ended up becoming standard in most parts of the country. Now, long before that, before the factories, before the Industrial Revolution, long before that, we were mostly, as human beings, working outside, farming and fishing and hunting and building things and creating things to survive. And anthropologists have determined that the people that worked back then worked way less than 40 hours a week, and it worked. So here we are in 2021 heading into 2022, and the question is it time for an upgrade? Are we ready to change this 8-decade-long standard and come up with something new? One thing that the COVID-19 pandemic taught us is that there are other ways of working that actually work. There are flexible work situations now. There are situations where people are working only remotely, or they're working mostly remotely and going in occasionally to check into the office. Some people are able to work from different locations around the world. Others, of course, cannot. It doesn't work for everyone. But we have learned that the idea that people will not be productive unless they are present, and they will not be productive unless they work this 8-hour standard every week, is untrue. Of course, this doesn't work for every industry, but it does work for a lot of industries. And there are people that are sitting up and taking notice. What is clear is that the way we have always done it, or at least the way we've done it for the past 81 years, does not need to be the way that we keep doing this. So in comes the 4-day work week. What if the 40-hour work week was reduced to 32 hours, but the pay stayed the same? Studies and trials of this have been done and are being done right now. This past July, Iceland released a report on the largest known study to date that there is on this topic. It was a 4-year study in which all of the public service people that worked in Iceland took a 4-day work week for the same amount of pay. And they did this for 4 years, which is a really good long time to see what happened. The researchers declared the project an overwhelming success, especially with regards to the mental health and the productivity of their workforce. And now in Iceland, 86% of the country's workforce have adopted a 4-day-a-week work week, and the rest of them are on their way to adopting it. Spain is undergoing trials right now. Canada has a few trials in Ontario and in Nova Scotia, and they are going well as well. And some individual organizations like Kickstarter and Unilever and some of the tech companies like Bolt and the Wanderlust Group are doing their own experimentation with this and with their employees. And so here are some of the benefits that have come from the trials that I have researched, the trials that are out there, and I thought I would list them off for you. So how this works is the workers get a 3-day weekend every weekend. So they have to continue to work 8-hour shifts, but they do it within a 4-day period. And then the rest of the time is rest, rejuvenation, refueling time. People have more time to spend with their families, with their friends, with their loved ones. Volunteerism has gone up. People are able to spend money in their local communities because they have time to go out for brunch or to go shopping or to take in a show. There is less sick time and less time away from work. Employees are happier and healthier. People are well rested and ready to work when they are at work, and therefore productivity has gone up by quite a lot. As an example, in 2019, Microsoft Japan implemented the 4-day work week, and they saw their productivity rise by 40%. That's huge. There's a lot of wasted time when you're spreading it out over 5 days. Some of the things that the Microsoft Japan company did included making sure that no meetings went longer than 30 minutes. Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be amazing? No longer than a 30-minute meeting. It was fast, you were in, you were out, it was done. One organization reported a dramatic decrease in stressed workers and actually in clinical burnout. As with everything, one size does not fit all. There is a lot to consider when implementing the 4-day work week instead of the 5-day work week. But one of the great things about it is that there would be less commuting. There would be less time on the road. There would be less pollution, therefore, and that would really help with the planet, which is struggling right now. Leave a comment in the comment box below about how you think the 4-day work week would work or not work for you in your life. If you're liking this content and you'd like more like it, please hit that like button, consider subscribing, share this video, maybe share it with your manager or your boss. I don't know. Share it so that more people can have this conversation about whether or not we should change this 8-decade-old standard to something that is more sustainable for us, for the planet, and for the world. If you don't know what the Great Resignation is and you would like to learn about it, click or tap on the link over here and I will see you in the next video.